Hi, my name is Debbie Pixton. I'm a program director with the Consortium for Public Education. Today, I am joined by Dr. Tamara Allen-Thomas, Superintendent of Schools at Clairton City School District, as part of our I Reach, I Teach video series. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Allen-Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
So, how long have you been in the field of education, and what exactly do you do as a superintendent?
I've been in education for over 20 years. And so I'm going to just start with my band of that 20 years leading up to a superintendent. I was originally in Pittsburgh Public Schools and many roles, from being an instructional lead teacher to being the director over all of the math department to being a director / principal in middle school to being the principal at Penn Hills Charter School of Entrepreneurship, which was the only entrepreneurial school in Pennsylvania. And so that led me to here at Clairton. So as a superintendent at a large scale, what my primary role is to make sure that we're fiscally responsible using taxpayers' money, as well as making sure that every student is given the opportunity to meet and reach their highest potential. That is my goal. And that's through making sure we have highly qualified individuals in front of them, making sure we have rigorous curriculum, making sure we have a safe and welcoming environment, making sure that every part of their time in our school is one where they can grow and soar.
So, what do you like the most about being in the field of education?
There's so many things, because every day is not the same. That's probably the biggest exciting piece, is that I like change, and change in a way that is about growth. And change is the part of letting you know the evolution that life exists. And so change, just as, water is put on a plant, you don't see the seed beneath the ground, but as it gets watered, as it gets the sunlight, you begin to see a sprout. And I feel like that's education. Sometimes there's some people who just plant a seed. There's some that come in water. And it's great being a part of that whole process and seeing to fruition the beautiful flower that blooms in our students.
Now, growing up, did you have an educator of color who inspired you to become a teacher?
So interesting enough, I always wanted to be a teacher since I was 7 years old. I told my mom I wanted to be a teacher of teachers, not realizing that that translates today into a superintendent, the teacher of teachers. And so when I was in school, I grew up in Los Angeles, California, very diverse, till I was 15. And then when I was born in Pittsburgh. So I left here when I was 7, stayed in California from 7 to 15. And when I returned to Pittsburgh, it was quite a different experience. There was no diversity. I went to and graduated from Westinghouse High School, which was all an African-American school. And I said, wait a minute, there's a school for only Black people? In California, my best friend was Indian. My neighbors were Caucasian and Asian. So the diversity was great. But being in Pittsburgh, you can see it was Black and white. And so being here in the school that I was in, there were a great many of African-American teachers in the high school level. However, there was one that stood out to me the most, and that is Miss Phyllis Jones, my physical education teacher. And she stood out the most because of her relationship building that she had. I was new to obviously back to Pittsburgh. I was 15, so I was in 10th grade. Most of the students had grown up together, went to middle school and elementary. I didn't have that experience. And so getting acquainted and, meeting new people, I'm not shy, so I was able to make friends quickly. However, it still was different. And so she was that person that different events, my birthday, she came to my house for my birthday. I didn't have a lot of people. It was my cousins and it was my teacher. And so those special attention that she gave me was beautiful. Not to mention, she was interested in my future. She said, what college are you going to? And I said, college? I didn't know about college. I didn't even know that was, should I be thinking about college? I was number 3 in my class, and I do not recall anyone talking about college. So that was I was the class president, and no one said, hey, what school are you going to? A lot of things were assumed because of where I was, meaning I was third, there was some assumptions made that I probably had it together, but I didn't. My mother, no one else went to college. So who was going to guide us? I needed the guidance from those individuals in the school setting. And she was that person. She was the one saying, no, here, let me get you to the guidance counselor. Let's get this. She made sure that I had everything together to make sure that I was successful. And guess what? She didn't stop there. Even while I was in college, she maintained that relationship. Her husband, I worked for him in the summer. Like, they stayed with me through my college career. I still call her and say thank you to this day.
So, why is it important for students, especially students of color, to have educators of color?
Because you have someone to aspire and that you can see yourself in. It is clear that when you see someone who looks like you can aspire to that same position. And so for me, the same thing, being able to see, a teacher, like this is what I wanted to do, but having a teacher, model that was not just her being in that position, but she also modeled the type of teacher I would become and leader that I would become ultimately. And so when you have that support, you also recognize that people of color have different struggles. The struggle is real. And part of my dissertation and earning my doctorate was about the challenges that African American women face as they pursue and serve in the superintendency role. So who would have known that it would happen this quickly, that I would serve in the role? But the challenges, and through my study, revealed the importance of having someone that looks like you in that field. And my study also revealed there are not many people in the field, especially as superintendent. In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, there's about 8% that are African American. As women, there's a 26% that are superintendents. So it is already a small pool of people. So when you talk about your struggles, and you talk about, as women, we have struggles, but even now they call it the double whammy. When you're African American woman, you also have struggles. So it's important to know that you're not in the struggle alone, and it's important to know that you can be what you want to be because there's someone who's already done it.
Dr. Allen-Thomas, can you tell us about a time when you had an impact on a student or on your system that has been especially rewarding?
So I really had some time to think about this. And I was like, which moment? I mean, and I say which moment because is it when I drive through McDonald's and see one of my former students say, I'm at the University of Pittsburgh studying math so I can be a math teacher, which I was their math teacher. And so, hearing the inspiration from students in that regard, or is it my student who was in my doctoral class saying, I was her inspiration. She's telling the other students in our class the reason where she is because of me as her 6th grade ELA teacher. And here we are walking across the stage together with our doctorate. So you talk about impact. Or is it the students, I'm going to their baptismal services, their weddings. I feel like seeing students along their journey, just as Mrs. Jones did for me, is critical, and it serves our communities, our world better, because we know that someone else is going to do the same thing, and we keep paying it forward.
What advice do you have for students who are considering becoming educators?
Be your authentic self. Be you. Show up as you. You don't have to measure up to anyone else, no other standard other than the one you set for yourself. And making sure that what you do and the decisions you make, they always have the children at the heart of your decision making. When I make decisions, I look at the data. I'm making sure that it's supporting what our mission is. I'm mission driven. So even when I started this position, I said, what is the mission? That was the first thing. I need to know, what is our mission? And to make sure that every opportunity that I'm presenting to our scholars, to our community, is aligned to that mission. So be true to the mission, and don't take a job just because it's a job. Make sure it aligns to your personal ethical background and that it meets what you believe, because I get to live every day what I believe, not what someone else told me. And so that is key for me. And I would tell that to anyone. You have to look at yourself every day in the mirror, and you don't want to look at this as a job. You want to look at this as an opportunity to grow minds and grow leaders and impact this country for the good. I would say that, on this journey, it's not going to be easy. I wish I could tell you it would be easy, but I can tell you that it's the most rewarding job you'll ever have. It is one that you may not be pat on the back today for what you do or how hard you push. But like I said, many of my students who come back and the ones who didn't come back, you know that when you wake up every morning, you're doing the right thing for kids is the reward in itself. So do what's right always, and you'll be all right.
Dr. Allen-Thomas, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and experiences with us today.
Thank you.